Hey everybody, TC Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV. I've been waiting all week for you, yes you, to stop on by and watch our show where God-given dreams get activated right before your very eyes. And what a show I've got lined up for you today. Waiting on set, we have Tina Dreffin. Tina is the author of Blue Water Walkabout into Africa. God has given Tina a purpose to speak to the world. She's an author of 3 memoirs and shares her knowledge and adventures of sailing around the world in a small boat with, listen to this, 2 children to 62 countries. Her belief in God prevented her from being nearly swept away overboard during a storm, gave her courage to outrun pirates, to endure the loss of an infant, and to be healed from breast cancer. So without any further ado, let's crack open that vault and let's get our show started. Tina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, TC.
You know, Tina, you and I have a common bond in that we were both chased by pirates at one point in our life. Now, just to clarify, I was chased by pirates in my imagination. Growing up, I don't know of any young boy growing up that wasn't chased by pirates. But you, my dear, actually were chased by pirates while being on a worldwide voyage with your 2 small children across 62 countries. Is that correct?
62 countries, yes. I visited 62 countries, sailed around the world with my 2 teenage sons, yes. And it was terrifying. Your kids on a boat, they want to do everything you don't want them to do, and you want them to be safe. And so it's terrifying all the time. And being chased by pirates, there's 3 places where we got chased by pirates. One off the coast of Ecuador after we went through the Panama Canal. Indonesia is a big place for piracy in the Malacca Strait. And then heading up the Red Sea off the Gulf of Aden, just a couple hundred miles off the coast of Somalia. We didn't carry any weapons on board. I believe that God anointed our vessel. And so if I hadn't had God with me, I would have never been able to have my kids on board and bring about this great experience that we have.
Wait a minute. People right now are listening at home. They're going, what did you just say? You sailed around the world. What inspired you to take a journey around the world in a very dangerous situation sometimes with your 2 small children? What was it that inspired you?
There's only one word to answer for that, and that was God. I've always lived my life as a purpose-driven life. I have gifts of the Spirit that I want to share. I am also a bit of an adventure junkie.
Right.
You can't tell.
You think?
Maybe. So I really wanted to share this experience with my kids. I wanted them to get to know people around the world. I wanted to see people in Africa, Southeast Asia, India, and Europe, all these beautiful countries. And I fell in love with people in 62 countries. They had us into their home. We had them on our vessel, and it was the best experience of my life. And I would do it all over again, but maybe just not right now.
Right, right. Were you ever in a storm? Because you know what? The preachers that are watching this are going, you know, I preached on this about being in a storm, and literally I know you've had to be in a storm or 2 in your life. So were you ever in a storm that you can tell us about?
Yes, I think the one that is most memorable, the one that was off of the coast of Namibia, which is the west coast of Africa. And I'll never forget it. We're a catamaran, so we had the doors bolted shut because the waves were hitting the boat, and you have to bolt them from the inside or else water would come in inside the vessel. And I like taking the dog watch, which is 2 to 4 in the morning, and you're always by yourself because I like to talk to God by myself without anyone around. That's my time.
Right.
To be with Spirit. So I went out at 2 in the morning, sounded like a train was roaring by with jets and crazy weather outside. And I got into the helm seat, and the captain bolted a rope around me to keep me from falling out. And I remember wanting to reach for my coffee thermos. And I looked behind me, I go, okay, quick, I can untie myself and go get my coffee. I just can't reach it. Untied myself, went to reach it, and then I suddenly heard this explosion. And I look up behind me, and there are no stars, because this water is just rising, 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 and it covers the sky above me. And it's 3 meters tall, 36 feet high, almost past the top of my mast. I couldn't see the water or the horizon. I couldn't even see the stars. Well, there were no stars because it was a storm.
That's like that scene. That's like in the scene in The Perfect Storm at the end when you see that water rising.
That's what it was.
Horrifying.
Horrifying. It hits the vessel. I'm in a tornado of water, a whirlpool, and it swishes me around like I'm in a washing machine. And I'm thinking, dear God, don't let me wash overboard. It's that night they'll never find me. Never find me. And I just remember grabbing onto the cockpit table, and my legs are flapping like the tail end of a flag. And the water comes in, it fills us up the cockpit. When it recedes, it wants to take me with it. And it's just dragging me, pulling at me, pulling at me, pulling at me. And finally, when it receded, I got up and I banged on the doors and said, let me in, let me in. And I just collapsed in tears, and I said, I'm okay, I'm fine. My older son said, Mom, go back to bed, I'll take this wash. I said, no, I'm getting back in that chair, and I'm riding my horse, absolutely. I was crying, but then I was so happy, I started laughing because I knew God had saved my life. I said, no, I'm getting back in that chair, and I'm going to drink my coffee and finish talking to God, and I did.
Wow. You know, Tina, our show is a platform for people that have activated their God-given dreams. You certainly fit that bill, but the people that we feature on this show, they have dealt with the spirit of fear. Because most people, the reason that you don't activate a God-given dream is because of fear. What is your take on fear as it relates to this topic?
Fear is part of the test. You are not ready for your big dream, for your big goal with God, if you are afraid. And that's what you have to overcome. You have to overcome your fear and realize that it is a test. The devil, the dark side, is always trying to distract you with fear. And especially with our virus going on now. It's a distraction from us all becoming a better world, God being in our world. And this distraction is taking up a lot of our energy. What we need to do is push it away and focus more on God and less on the vaccine and the virus. We need to focus on God. Let that work itself out. Yes, have respect, but don't ever be afraid. If you have faith and trust in God, you will never worry about your dreams coming true with God. You just have to believe and trust, and that's part of the test.
Right, right. Well, one of the things that you did after this experience is you actually wrote a book, Blue Water Walkabout into Africa, and it actually won an award in New York City. Can you talk about that?
Yes. It won a nonfiction book award for independent publishing. I asked him why, and he said, well, because you want to make the world a better place. And I said, absolutely. That was my goal for sailing around the world. Go to these 62 countries, learn from them, respect them, engage with them, have them in your home. They invite you into their home, learn their culture. And when you come back, take what you have learned from them and bless it in your own country, in your own community. And that's what I promised God I would do.
Wow, wow. Talk a little bit about some of these tragedies that you've endured in your life, because you and I talked before the show. You've been through some stuff other than what you've shared here up until now on the show. I understand that you went through breast cancer, and you're a survivor in so many ways, but breast cancer specifically, can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it was absolutely terrifying. I didn't believe it at first. I was at a family reunion, and my doctor just found it right then and there, and I said, oh, no. That's not possible. Number one, we don't have breast cancer in my family. Number two, I don't have stress. I live on a boat in the Caribbean. I don't have stress. I love my life. I love my family, and I'm a vegetarian. You've got the wrong patient. That's not me.
Right.
But no, right after Christmas, I was in surgery, and yeah, so I went back to see after my 6th month of treatment. I went back to see, and I had a suitcase load of pills. And I went through the Panama Canal, and I started taking those pills, and I said, you know, every time I take, now my doctor isn't going to like me saying this, but every time I took those pills, I was saying, I'm giving control into something that's not God. I took that whole suitcase full of pills. Must have been worth $10,000. Dumped them all overboard. And I had a trail of little blue pills drifting out behind me on the boat. I said, from today forward, I will change my heart, my mind, and my soul to focus on God, to love God, and let Him heal me. And I never was sick again. And that's since 2003.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. It's a pretty devastating diagnosis to receive.
Yes. And it was aggressive, stage 3. It could have gone either way really fast.
Inside the heart of each and every one of us lies a dream, a purpose we were put here on this planet to fulfill, a God-given mission. And when we tap into it, God will unleash unbelievable blessings over our lives, from our family to our finances. T.C. Bradley's new book, God Made Millionaire, will help you bring the abundant riches of the kingdom to all aspects of your life. Order God Made Millionaire today.
What was your conversation like when you were going through that trauma and that experience of breast cancer? What was your conversation with God like? Because you have shared with us that you have an intimate relationship with God. You talk to God all the time. Take us into some of those conversations.
Well, it always starts out with, I know I don't see the bigger picture here, so I'm trusting in you.
Right.
I get a little bit up in his face. And then I just be honest and I admit that, okay, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to be stronger. This is a test. It's a distraction for me completing my life goals. And I'm just going to trust. And my family wasn't able to be with me during my procedures. I would go out every night in the dark. And this was in Myrtle Beach. And I would hug a palm tree and walk on the beach at 2 in the morning and just talk to God for hours.
Wow, wow. Now, there are people watching this. There are ladies that are watching this that maybe are in that same position that you were in, Tina. What would you say to them? What would be your message to those ladies that are watching this right now and they are terrified because of what a doctor just said to them? What would your message be to them as a survivor?
Go talk to God. Hear His message. Don't be distracted by your doctor. Be respectful and listen. But truly open your heart to what God can do for you. He can heal. There are miracles happening all the time in healing with cancer, all kinds of cancer.
Right, right. Tina, I'm going to tell you, I think one of the tragedies that hits parents that should never hit a parent is the loss of a child. And as you sit here this morning on our set, you've endured the loss of a child. And I don't think any parent should have to go through that experience, but you've had to go through that as well. Can you share with us that experience?
Yes, she was a baby. They'd just come through the Panama Canal, and the captain came up to me and said, well, we're headed to New Zealand, and there's no turning back. Once you head out into the South Pacific, the winds and the seas are with us, but you can't turn around and come home until you keep going on around the world, unless you have your vessel shipped home, which is not an option for us. And I said, no, there's something wrong. I don't feel right. There's something wrong. So when I got home, my doctor did an ultrasound. and the baby was under stress. I was out to here. 22 and a half weeks. A baby can live if she had been born alive. But she died inside of me, and I hit a depression after that. That was really hard for me to come out of. And you're right, the loss of a child, you never, ever get over it. Ever. It's not supposed to happen, but it does. And again, you just have to go to God and give it to Him and forgive and love, because you're going to have another hardship after that. You're always going to have hardships in life. If you don't have hardships in life, you're never going to grow in grace with God. So that was something I had to endure, and it took me a long time to recover, and I'll never be the same. She was a special in my heart, and we named her Eve. So she's still with me right here.
Amen. Can you share right now for the ladies that are watching this right now, and they're watching, they've tuned in, maybe you were just flipping the dial and randomly you came across our show and you just heard this story, and maybe you were where Tina was at that precise moment in your life. Maybe you've lost a child recently. Tina, can you look into the camera and can you speak to that woman a special message of hope and inspiration?
I know the loss of your child is very painful to you. But that child is with God now, in a happy place. Trust and see your child there in the loving arms of God and all your family members before that child. Picture that every day and let love and life carry on so that you can bless other lives with your God-given joy.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Tina, I want to shift our show a little bit into, you're kind of rambunctious. I think you have a little outlaw pirate in you, if I'm being honest with you. I think you got a little pirate in you myself. But you have this infectious faith, and you have a belief in your God being a big God. And you had talked before about if you're going to dream big. Can you talk about your attitude when it pertains to your God and about your dreams and about you don't have small dreams?
Oh, no. My dreams are always big. And they keep getting bigger because all my dreams are coming true now. So I have to dream even bigger. It's always been my dream to talk about God on a TV show. Ever since I've been a little girl, my mom and dad used to watch religious TV shows on TV about talking about God. I go, I want to be that person who gets interviewed. And I was just a little kid.
Right.
So now my dream has come true. Now I even have a bigger dream. I want my entire story to be made into a Hollywood movie because I want to inspire people that no matter what you're going through, we're all facing battles. Whether you're steel carting water from a well and you have a dirt floor in your hut, you have to gather firewood. Your crops are all gone because of weather shifting patterns. You're losing people in your family. You're in war. In our country, we all face battles. We're all emotionally and spiritually facing the same spiritual battles. And my dream is, having visited all those countries, is to unite us all together under one big God umbrella of love and acceptance. And I want my books made into a movie to inspire others. So that's my dream. You got to dream big, and when you dream big, God makes it happen.
Well, here's the thing. I will align my faith with your faith about your life story being made into a movie if you can promise me that when that comes to pass, I get to play one of the pirates in the movie. Is that a deal?
Deal.
Okay. Where did this come from, this this lioness. You sit here in front of me, and yet you look like a little lamb, but you're this lioness. Where did this fierce faith come from, Tina?
My mother and dad. My mother wrote the entire Bible in poetry form.
Wow.
Poetry form, all books of the Bible. And did you know she never graduated from high school? But by the time she turned 72, she had a PhD in divinity.
Wow.
Yes. So
now, is
she
your mom still
dreamed
alive?
big. No, unfortunately, she's passed. She dreamed real big.
Wow, so that came from your mom.
Yes, she taught me to dream big, be bold, and be faithful.
That boldness, tell us a little bit how important that boldness is in your life. What do you think?
Your boldness is your protection. Because when people know that you are a God-given person, it not only speaks to them, but they're going to leave you alone. They know they can't mess with you because God's hands are so big. I have a protection around me that's God-given, my friends, my family, and my spirit.
Tina, you spoke earlier about a purpose-driven life. You said you live a purpose-driven life. What does that mean to you when you say that?
That means that everything I do has a meaning behind it. Number one, I want the time for quality of life to be able to accomplish a driven life to where I can help others, help heal others with words or with love, inspiration. Writing my books was number one, to share all my short stories of how I went through hardships. They were not easy for me. I had to put my own self through college. And that from day one, I became a fighter because I knew God had the bigger picture for me. And I was going to live every day according to His will and how that was going to contribute to my big dream of living life with purpose, create my destiny, and dream big. And make it happen by being faithful to your dream and helping others. Think of others first, God before that, and yourself last, and you will have the perfect picture of how to live a purpose-driven life.
Wow, wow. Tina, how can people find out about your book?
I have 3 books on Amazon. They all are with the Blue Water Walkabout series, into Africa, into the Caribbean, and into the Pacific. I have a blog and a website called bluewaterwalkabout.com. It's a blog of my experiences other than the ones that were in my book. And there are also 3 book trailers of movies that focus on my other 2 books.
And I'm going to be a pirate in that movie.
And you are going to be a pirate in that movie. You can count on it.
Tina, you are an inspiration to me. You've inspired over 200 nations that have tuned in to our show today. But before we go, I want you to speak into the camera at home. I want to give you an opportunity to literally, God has anointed you for this purpose and for this season. So many people are going through the storms of life that have never been in these storms in their lifetime. And you have been through the storms, so many in your life, and you've come out on the other side. And now He's appointed you to speak to over 200 nations. I want you to take your time. I want you to look into that camera and speak your message of hope, of inspiration that God has given you to over 200 nations, if you would.
You have a purpose in your life. I want you to look for it. I want you to believe in it. I want you to wrap God's wings of love around you. You may not see it, but it is there. We're all suffering through battles right now. We're all trying to figure out what's going on in our lives. But you have people beneath you and living around you that are waiting for you to step up and be their spiritual leader, whether it's in your family or your community or your work You can help others by listening to God and following through and trust. No matter what you're going through, no matter what battle you're suffering, we all are suffering battles. They're just different kinds of battles. Spiritual battles, financial battles, health battles, family battles, drug addiction battles, everything. We have to pull together as a world and get over the suffering and believe in God and let Him strengthen your spirit and trust. This time too shall pass, I promise you, and you'll be a stronger person in faith and in spirit. Don't ever, ever give up on God and dream big.
Tina, I loved having you here. Will you come back and see us again?
You can count on it, Casey.
All right, Tina, thank you so much for coming. Hey, everybody, can you believe we are at the end of another show? And what a show we had lined up for you today. You know, ladies and gentlemen, in these final moments of the show, I want to encourage you, yes you, that the launching pad of miracles will be your commitment. Show me a man, show me a woman that is committed, and I'm going to show you somebody that's going to activate their God-given dream. Your destiny is found in the deep waters where your God calls you to fulfill that destiny. The only way you're going to go to those deep waters is to leave the safety and the security and the comfort of the shoreline. Some of you watching this show right now, you've been lounging on the safety and the comfort of the shoreline, and your God today is calling you to go to the deep waters where your dream is, where your destiny is. And the only way you're going to get there is if you're committed. And I'm talking rock solid commitment, not one of these dinky-donkey commitments that the world talks about. I'm talking about committed. Stand up right now with me and say, I am committed, TC, to activating my God-given dream. Now that you're standing up, go over there and get your shades on, because you know how we do it here. We hit our music and we do our prosperity dance. I want you to do it with some attitude and with some commitment with me. Big Mike, hit my music.
Inside the heart of each and every one of us lies a dream, a purpose we were put here on this planet to fulfill, a God-given mission. And when we tap into it, God will unleash unbelievable blessings over our lives, from our family to our finances. T.C. Bradley's new book, God Made Millionaire, will help you bring the abundant riches of the kingdom to all aspects of your life. Order God Made Millionaire today